and welcome to another episode of Unstoppable Overcomers. Tonight's sponsors for the show is Strong Foundations Coaching and Consulting. With over 25 years of leading, mentoring, training, and coaching people, Jen provides individuals and business personalized support to get aligned with their best life. For more information on how Jen can best serve you, go to www.jenzahari.com and book your free 30-minute consultation today. As well, we also have Jen's book, Created, No Way Out. It is a nonfiction book about a woman named Faith is on the verge of ending her life following decades of feeling unheard and unseen and suffering from anxiety. Created is filled with emotion, unique insights on mental health, and an ending you totally don't want to miss. So I have my copy. You can get your copy today at jenzahari.com or Amazon. With that, we are going to bring up our amazing guest, Daniel Torrez. Welcome to the show, Daniel.
Hello, and thank you.
Awesome. So for those of our viewing audience that have no idea who Daniel is, tell us a little bit about yourself, Daniel, your background, what it is that you do or did do.
Okay. Well, let's start where I'm at currently. Currently, I work for the Arizona Department of Corrections, Rehabilitation, and Reentry. I work in inmate programs and reentry division, and I'm the volunteer coordinator. So basically what I do is I coordinate with all of our senior chaplains at each prison complex throughout the state to bring in volunteers who bring in much needed programming and services to our incarcerated. Prior to that, with the agency, I was in victim services, where I helped build the victim offender dialogue program. It's a restorative justice program where we bring together survivors of violent crime up to homicide with the face-to-face with the offender of that crime for healing. Born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona, and always knew that I wanted to be a police officer or a firefighter. I used to watch Adam 12 and Emergency 51 and, of course, Chips with Punch and John.
I love that show. That was a good show.
I favored myself as being like Punch. I had that wavy hair back in the day. Mm-hmm. And then I had a positive experience with a police officer because I was somewhat of a troubled youth back in the day. And that solidified it for me in high school. And I wanted to become a police officer in the city of Phoenix here. But I knew you had to be 21 years old. So I figured I'd join the Army, be a military police officer for 3 years, get some training, maybe see the world a little bit, come back and go to the academy to be a Phoenix police officer. Unfortunately, 3 weeks or so before I left for basic training, my father passed away from cancer. And I could have got out of my enlistment. The recruiters told me, they could get me out of the enlistment because of a compassionate discharge, because of my family situation. But a few days before my father passed away, we had a long talk at the house because he wanted to be home. He knew he was coming to the end of his journey. And, and I told him, I said, I can get out of my enlistment. He said, nope. He said, no, mijo, you need to go join the Army, become a man. The rest of the family will be fine. And he told me, a Torrez never quits. So I took that advice. And then my dad, then he passed away. And I didn't cry for when he died. I didn't cry at his funeral. And I don't know why. But I didn't really process any emotions or grief when he passed away because I felt at peace, and I felt that he was at peace with that discussion that we had. So I leave on my first airplane trip, join the Army, go to Fort McClellan, Alabama, and I'm all in. It was 1985, and it was, be all you can be. It was on the TV commercials, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to make my dad proud because he was in the Army, and I had an older brother in the Army as well. So I'm learning early on that to be a good soldier, you gotta suck it up. You gotta take the pain and just push through. And then I learned that to be a good military police officer, you can't let things get to you. You gotta have thick skin, and you can't show emotions. And even if we're responding to, critical incidents that may be, somewhat horrific, traffic accidents, medical emergencies, things like that. So I was like, okay, well, I'm pretty good at compartmentalizing my emotions now about my dad's death. So I think I could do this military police thing. So I go through training, I earn my MP badge, and then I'm shipped off to my first duty station, where I was a young MP at Fort Hood, Texas. And like I said, I was all in. I was out there ready to save the world. I had a badge and a gun, and I was just trying to, help people, protect people and be of service. And I start seeing things that, kind of that I didn't expect to see. Well, it's not that I didn't expect to see, maybe not as soon as I started patrol. Right. But one incident, so the day my dad died, it was just me and my little sister and my mom at home. My two older brothers were at work. And, so mom knocked on the door. I'm in the shower getting dressed for the day. Then I go in the room and I double check with my dad. And as soon as I walked in their room, it was that smell of death. And it's very distinct, especially when it's the smell of death from a disease that's, basically eating you alive. Yeah. So one of my first critical incidents as a young MP was responding to a medical emergency. And I got there before the fire department. And it was a young mother, screaming, help my baby, save my baby. And she was on, her child was on the couch. And as soon as I walked in the room, I had that smell. And just looking at her, being a trained observer, I kind of felt that she was already gone. But the mother was hysterical. So I moved the child to the floor and I started performing CPR. And I could tell by the touch, the smell, and her being non-responsive that she was gone. But I continued to do CPR. And when I started doing CPR, the mother went from, save my baby to thank you for helping my baby. So the fire department shows up, they come in and they're looking at me like, dude, what are you doing? Because I think they knew that the young child was gone as well. So I just kind of gave a look towards the mother. I think they understood what was going on. So then they took over CPR, conducted all life-saving measures, and then transported her out in an ambulance. And while they were doing that, when I was talking to the mother, got my information from our report. And then, they leave, everybody leaves. And, but it was that smell. It just took me back to the day my dad died. And I was like, well, that kind of sucks. So I just compartmentalized it, shoved it down. Mm-hmm. I go back to the MP station, do my report, turn it in, and, I get a good job, from the desk sergeant. And, back then it wasn't no debrief or critical incident, stress management, or not even hey, young troop, do you need to talk to anybody about what just happened? Mm-hmm. It was good job, get back on patrol. So that's what I did. And then, go on for a few months, just responding to different incidents and, accidents and things like that. Still not processing my dad's death. And, I was raised Roman Catholic. So I'm thinking, man, I need to talk to somebody. I'm running wild. I'm drinking. I'm smoking. I'm doing high risk behaviors. And I was just angry. I was angry at the world. Although I felt I was doing some good because I was helping people and protecting them, I still didn't know how or even know if I wanted to process my dad's death. So I told my team leader, I said, hey, I need to go talk to somebody. I said, I'm gonna go talk to the chaplain, Roman Catholic. I said, I'll go talk to a Catholic chaplain. If anybody's going to help me, it's going to be a chaplain. So they make an appointment for me. I go down, see the chaplain. I pour out my heart to him, let him know, my dad passed away. At this point, it's 9 months since my dad passed away. And, he didn't really seem engaged, kind of, moving stuff on his desk and not a very good active listener, we'll say. And then he reaches back and hands me a pamphlet and he says, well, take this pamphlet, take a look at it. And, if you still have questions or you need some additional guidance, come back and see me. I said, okay, cool. So I leave his office. I throw the pamphlet away. I don't even think I read it. And then I probably went and had 1, 2, or 6 beers after that. And I just keep going, doing what I'm doing, being angry, acting out, drinking, smoking, and doing high risk behaviors. And another 3 months go by and I said, you know what, this is not good. I got to figure something out here. So I go back to the chaplain. He doesn't remember me. I pour my heart out again, and I say, look, I think I'm going down a bad road here. I said, I need some guidance, Or at least this time he reaches back and he gives me a book. It was an actual book on, I think, how to grieve the loss of a loved one. He's like, well, young trooper, read this book, and if you still got some issues or you got questions, come back and see me. I said, okay, cool. So I leave with the book. I think again, I threw it in the trash and probably just went back to doing what I was doing. And at that point, I think that set my trajectory for the rest of my career and beyond in the Army, because after that, I went a few places, did a few things in the military, and saw some ugly stuff. And I never processed it, or the way I processed it was to compartmentalize it.
Right.
And, there was just different situations that would take me back to my dad, the day my dad died. So I think having that, now I can call it, some childhood trauma. Because I think I was 16 when my dad was diagnosed. And, to me, it just sucked, hey, my dad's got cancer, and then my dad died. And it's like, okay, I gotta move on.
Mm-hmm.
And, so just different scenarios. I've responded to different situations that took me back. One particular, we were in Mombasa, Kenya, helping with the relief flights going into Somalia. And this was all before the whole Black Hawk Down situation. So we were staying in Mombasa, Kenya. We would fly in with the relief flights and be dropped off on the ground in Somalia to help protect the air traffic control equipment and the pallets of food and whatnot.
Right.
And if I wasn't doing that, we were doing airfield security. We were doing 12-hour shifts, and we would take a bus to and from our hotel. I couldn't really complain. It was a 4-star hotel in Mombasa, Kenya.
Damn.
I had my own room, as a SWAT leader, I had my own room. So one day we're going back to the hotel, and there was a traffic accident. So we pulled over to offer assistance. As the senior person there, I directed my troops to do some traffic control. There was an injured person in the road, so we started doing first aid. We put gloves on, our surgical gloves. He was bleeding. We patched him up, and then the crowd started saying that he got hit by a car, and the car's submerged in the water down this 15-foot bank. Mm-hmm. And I go look over, and it's all murky water, and I can't see anything. I can't see a car, so it's pretty deep. And then they start saying, well, somebody's got to go get the guy. He's still in the car. So we started looking around like, well, yeah, somebody should probably
pick
go
straws.
Somebody should go in there and help this guy. Maybe he's still alive.
Right.
And they're all like, well, Americans, you got to go. You got to get in there. I said, well, so of course I'm the senior person. And so I dive in, and it's about, I guess, 15, 20 feet down in the water. I feel the car. I feel the individual in the driver's seat, and I couldn't pull him out. So I had to come back up. I go down again, and I try it again. Couldn't get him out. And, afterwards, my troops were telling me, he said, man, it's hard. We thought we lost you, man. You were down there for a while that second time. And I said, well, I was trying to get him out, So I go down a third time. Basically what I do is I pull him over the front seat, and I pull him out the right rear passenger door, because I couldn't get him out the driver's side. He was like pinned in for some reason. I couldn't get him out. So I get him out of the water, get him at the base of the embankment. My troops helped me get him up on the road, and he had been submerged too long. He was gone. But again, so that took me back to the young girl. I knew she was gone, but I started doing first aid with this gentleman. I started doing CPR on him. Um, the gloves I had were ripped and torn because I was doing stuff in the car. So my skin and my wounds were coming in contact with the blood from the individuals and other bodily fluids. So we were the good Americans there to help. So I started performing CPR. Doing that took me back to the young girl, took me back to my dad the day he died, and I found him in the bedroom. I just said, well, okay, well, he's gone. They come, they swoop people up, take our bus, go back to the hotel. We do our little PT, and I said, man, that's pretty nasty water. I should probably take a shower before I go to bed. So I take a shower, and I'm going to get some sleep because I'm working 12-hour shifts. And then about an hour or two later, my leadership shows up because the bus driver went back to the airfield and said, hey, this just happened. So they took me back to the airfield. I had to see the Navy doctor, and they said, yeah, that's some nasty water. And, a lot of people feel that the AIDS epidemic started in Mombasa, Kenya.
Mm-hmm.
So not only was I in contact with individuals' blood and stuff, but I was in this nasty water. So they took me to the hospital, and they basically rinsed or flushed, every orifice I had to leave all kinds of different samples. And the doctor was like, yeah, you should probably, the Navy doctor, once I got back to the airfield, he's like, yeah, you should probably get a blood test every 6 months for the next 10 years because of the whole AIDS situation. This was 1985. No, this was 1992. I'm sorry. And I said, okay, well, that's, eye-opening. So then I finished that and do some other stuff. And, I'm just gung-ho, and not really processing anything that I dealt with. I've been in some combat zones, some other hurricane relief situations, and some United Nations peacekeeping missions, where I get to wear the baby blue beret and everything. Our vehicles and our helicopters and APC vehicles were all painted white with the big UN, and just going all over the world, doing what I was trained to do, and not really worrying about myself. Because as I progressed in the military, even as a military police officer, I was able to go to the U.S. Army Ranger School, which really wasn't the norm back then. So I graduated Ranger School as a young corporal just before we went to Panama for Operation Just Cause. And, once I came back, I was Ranger Torrez. I didn't have a rank anymore. And it didn't matter who it was. They would call me Ranger Torrez. So we're in Panama for Just Cause. We're at an enemy prisoner of war camp. We established that we're processing the enemy prisoners of war that are coming in from the Panamanian Defense Forces. And one night, we were told the possibility of us getting attacked from the wood line. So my platoon sergeant says, hey, Ranger Torres, I need you to grab your best gunner, and you guys got a mission. And then he tells me, he's like, you're probably not going to survive.
That's a good thing to say, eh? Just as
Right?
It actually reminds me. Do you watch Yellowstone at all?
I have not, but I want to.
Oh my gosh. So sorry to interrupt you, but this just came to my mind. So my husband, there's this episode that we've watched beginning to end like several times. And there's this one episode where they give Rip a house and then they ask him to suit up. And then he's the one that's going in on this ambush. So no bulletproof vest. The guys of Yellowstone have them, but not him. So you give him a house and then you make him run off, right? My husband cries every single time. Well, not cries, but he's like, how could they do that to him? They just give him a house and then boom, then they kill him or put him in to kill him. So sorry. Side note.
No,
but
so, I'm a young corporal and I'm trained and, so, people say Ranger School's the best leadership, one of the best leadership courses out there. And he's like, so don't tell your gunner, but you guys probably aren't going to survive. So they wanted us to be out at the very front, like on this little shack. So basically, we were going to be the early warning device. So if the Panamanian Defense Forces come through and attack, you guys are going to light them up with your machine gun, and then you guys are probably going to be killed. But we'll appreciate it because, you took one for the team. So I go and I say, hey, I need you. I said, we're going to go. This is our task. This is what we're going to go do. And of course, I did not relay, that we're not going to survive or we're going to be killed, because that's just poor leadership. Mm-hmm. So nothing happened. We were out there. We're doing what we're doing. They never attacked. And, we brought everything back in and we just continued our mission and did everything. And that was probably one of the second or third examples of poor leadership that I experienced in the military. I had some great leaders, but also I had some poor leaders. And, I think I just kind of try to embody the good examples that I had. And, I made my mistakes. I'm not perfect. But I always tried to take care of my troops, and my troops came first. They always say, mission first, but soldiers always. And I tried to live by that. But in so doing, I never really took care of myself. Not in a physical way. I felt I was very, good at the physical stuff, but the emotional stuff. Because again, as a young corporal MP, and now I'm Ranger qualified, and then I move up in rank, so I have more people that I'm responsible for. We continue to deploy to, combat zones or other areas. So I would experience things, and I would always ask, troops, you guys good? Everything all right? But I would never sit down, and nobody really asked me, because again, good, right, wrong, or indifferent. But the persona of Ranger Torrez was, well, he's Ranger Torrez. Nothing gets to him, and that was either intentional or accidental on my part. But I was fairly confident in my skills and my abilities. And again, I think it was pretty evident I didn't really look out for myself emotionally, and that carried me through. Throughout my career, and then life happens. Got married high school sweetheart. We were in Germany together, things like that. And then, we had a child together, which was my first child. And like I said, I didn't cry at my dad's death or at his funeral. But I tell you what, when I was in the room with my daughter being born, I started bawling, and that was 10 years later. So I don't think I shed a tear for anything for 10 years until I saw my daughter being born.
She's been the apple of your eye ever since, I'm sure.
Absolutely, and that's that was my first with the high school sweetheart who I ended up divorcing. And that was just like, where'd this come from? What are these?
What's the emotion?
Right. And then went through a little bit longer, and things got bad. Uh-oh, I think I lost you.
Oh, no, you're back. I can hear you. You're kind of frozen. Oh, there you go.
There we are. I can see me, but I can't see you. Oh, there you are.
I'm here.
Yeah, so
internet's great when it works.
I know, right? And then, so we ended up getting divorced. I came back. She was home with our daughter, and I came back and got out of the Army, to save my marriage, which didn't work. Got divorced, and I thought I was doing the right thing as a good dad and good husband, and I let her become the custodial parent, and then I would have visitation because we were all local here. It was a fairly cordial divorce. But then she gets, finds a boyfriend. Boyfriend gets, and he ended up doing some horrible things to my daughter from the ages of 5 to 7. And my ex-wife knew about it and didn't do anything about it.
Oh.
So I get a phone call from my then sister-in-law, and she tells me that so and so and so and so have been arrested, and my daughter is currently at a shelter, a CPS shelter, Child Protective Services. So I go pick up my daughter, and at this point, I am remarried to my lovely wife that I'm still with today. So we go pick up my daughter, and then we pursued, find out everything that we had to do. So basically, they were both charged. She was charged with child abuse, child neglect, and some other stuff, and he was charged with child molestation. So I didn't want to have my daughter go through the trial or anything like that. So I took a plea with her biological mother. She got 2 years in county jail, and the perpetrator of the crimes got 41 years. And is currently in one of our facilities that I've visited during my time here working for the Department of Corrections. So there was a lot of things.
How does that, sorry to stop you, but how, like, that must feel like, like, as a parent, I would probably want to just choke them. But I know how it ends for you. I know how it ends for you because you took the high road. But I mean, right. I just, like, I can't, especially with your training. Like, I'm sure there were moments you wanted to snap him in half.
Right. And that was pretty evident. So we pick her up, and then, we go through the process. There was some civil suits because the police messed up because they were called for the first time and then lost stuff, didn't respond, didn't do things right. The hospital that she was taken to had the signs but didn't do anything, and then the attending doctor had the signs and didn't do anything. So we sued civilly, and my daughter won, and she's set up for the rest of her life, at least financially. But when we took our daughter, so here in Phoenix, they have an organization called Child Help, which is a one-stop shop. It's got police, mental health, everybody to help young victims of molestation. So we go there, and they take her back to do the intake and the exam and all that. And I'm in a little waiting room, and this little intern, it's a psychology intern, comes in, and she's like, "Hey, Mr. Torrez, how are you? I'm so-and-so. I'm an intern. Is there anything I can do for you?" I'm like, "No, I'm good." So she keeps coming back and checking on me. And I understand she was coming at it from a good space, because I'm a dad, and my daughter has been, hurt. Mm-hmm. So she keeps coming back and just asking me, "Is there anything we can do for you? How are you feeling?" And finally, I would say I snapped. And I told her, I said, "Look, I understand you're an intern. You're trying to help." I said, "I'm good to go." I said, "I'm not worried about me. I don't want you to be worried about me." I said, "I want you to take care of my daughter." And I said, "But since you asked how I feel," I said, "right now I'm finding it very difficult to not want to snap the neck of my daughter's biological mother because of what she let happen to her." Mm-hmm. So she had this look on her face like, "Oh my God." So she leaves, and a few minutes later, the actual psychologist.
She wanted to know. Hello.
Right. So
normal response for any parent. They can't shit.
Right. A few minutes later, the actual psychologist comes in, and she's like, "Hi, Mr. Torrez." I said, "Look," I said, "I get it." I said, "I apologize for possibly scaring your little intern." I said, "But I am good. I am not worried about me right now." And I told her, I said, "Look, I am in a controlled state of aggression. Let's just leave it at that." She's like, "Okay." She gave me a card. If you need anything, and that was that. So, then everything comes full circle. I got out of the Army. I did what I did, remarried, had another child with my lovely wife now, who actually our youngest is graduating college this weekend. So we'll be traveling to Reno for that. But, I had to learn to respond appropriately to things because I was just reacting negatively from an early part of my career and in my life. So I don't know why, but I ended up, being unfaithful to my lovely wife that I'm still with today after I got out the first time. And I think I was just reacting negatively to all the things going on. But she's been my rock. and we hit 21 years this month.
Congratulations.
Even
What day? What day this month?
May 4th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I only asked because my parents were the 25th. So that's
okay.
why I asked.
Yeah. So, and she took me back. I messed up. I did some other stuff, and, but we're going strong. But I think it all comes full circle, because when I was doing the victim offender dialogue, I would actually be sitting face to face with child molesters, and I'd be going to the prison where the offender from my daughter's situation is actually housed. Mm-hmm. And when I go there, because it's one whole complex that's primarily sex offenders. Right. So there's always a chance when I go that I would see him. I have not yet, and I've been there quite a few times. But yeah, so I'm sitting across, talking to these child molesters and seeing if they want to help their victim, their survivor. And some of them are their children. Some of them are, just somebody that they sexually assaulted. And for people who knew or know my story and what happened to my daughter, they'd be like, man, how can you do that? How can you sit across the table from a child molester, after what happened to your daughter? And I was telling them, it's not about me. And because I was trying to help that survivor, because the survivor reached out. It was a new program here in the state. And if I can help that survivor on their journey towards healing, then I want to do that, regardless of who I need to talk to. And in the same aspect, the survivor's healing is our priority, but you can't discount any healing that may come for that offender. And I would just see them as a person, and not as an inmate or somebody wearing, orange jumpsuit, or even somebody who did a horrible crime. They did do that. I'm not ignoring that fact, but they're still a person. And that's how I would approach it. Again, it's not about me. I'm trying to help the survivor. And if I can, the process will help the offender as well.
Right.
And I think just going through that and some of the training that we were doing when I was at Fort Bliss, we were training, detainee operations units to go guard the detainees in Afghanistan or Iraq.
Right.
And sometimes we were training infantry units or, other combat arms units to go be the guards of detainees. And some of these units, maybe 2, 3, 4 years earlier, were overseas in combat operation, that maybe they lost soldiers at the hands of the people now that I'm going to ask them to guard. Mm-hmm. So we had a lot of training, and we provided a lot of training on how to treat the detainees. We didn't call them the enemy, but how to treat the detainees with dignity and respect.
Right.
And that can be difficult for somebody, who's trained to take out the enemy, and possibly somebody whose friend or battle buddy was killed by the enemy. And now we're asking them to treat them with, kid gloves and dignity and respect. Well, I think we're very successful in the way we did it. And I think that just goes to, treating people with respect, regardless of who they are, where they come from, or what they've done.
Right.
And just, living that golden rule. And I also learned the platinum rule. Sometimes, you treat people as they expect to be treated, especially in our field of, military or first responders. I've worked with some agencies where certain people felt that they needed to be treated a certain way, and you do that. You do that sometimes.
Right. But I love what you said. Like, number one, I commend you for having that attitude, and not acting on wanting to rip your ex-wife's head off and go after the perpetrator for your daughter. And number one, you're a dad first. Well, I guess people would argue. Sometimes the military would say you're military first, then a father. But I know there's a fine line there, and I know I've been working with a lot of veterans lately, so I know how you guys take your brother and everything seriously, and I get that, and it's more like a survival thing because you're with them more,
Right.
and no man will be left behind is the motto, and
Right.
that's drilled into your head with your training, and the fact that um, your story started with your dad, and I have to say, my dad passed away the same way. He died at home, and maybe it's I don't know. Maybe I just didn't smell it, or maybe I didn't want to. But I don't remember a distinct smell. I mean, it might have been, but
Right.
when you said that, I was just like I was trying to picture in my memory, like if I could remember something. But maybe I just didn't want to. Maybe that's one thing
Yeah.
I blocked out.
Hey, it's possible. Yeah, absolutely.
But and through your entire story, I've noticed that, when you try to reach out for help before you completely shut yourself down emotionally, no one was there.
Right.
So the reason why I really have a heart for veterans and first responders is because I want to change the stigma and change it from the inside out. Meaning, there has to be, yes, I understand you guys are trained to kill. And yes, I understand that you guys put your life on the line. But you also have to get that training somehow to say, okay, in this defense, you got to do that. But to somehow allow those triggers and those memories to be like, for it to come up and deal with it instead of suppressing it. And,
Yes.
and I know well, you were very young when your dad passed away, and it's one thing after another, so getting that help that was needed and continuing on, and to have that attitude of, I see this, I'm going to respect you because you are a person, instead of going after that. So I commend you for that. But there, you do have a program, the AAR method. Could you explain
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
our viewing audience what that
I was
means?
gonna jump right into that too. Yeah, because so I was with Victim Services doing that program, and I thought I was helping people. I did several of those dialogues where people cried, laughed, and hugged it out at the end, and I thought it was great. It helped me. I think it helped me grow, and it helped the survivor and the offender. But it was a grant funded position, and the grant cycle was ending. So we're getting ready to apply for the new grant, and I'm like, all right, man, let's go. I'm ready to do more. And then I find out that my interim administrator decided that my position didn't need to be continued. But when they made that decision, they failed to tell me. So the grant cycle ends on September 30th, and I didn't find out I wouldn't have a job until the first part of August, end of July, first part of August. But the decision was made in April. So not only did they make a decision to not continue my job, my position, they also made a conscious decision to not tell me. And that was a gut punch. And the reason that was what kind of started my downward spiral, was because I feel I've been in the service to others, my whole adult life in one form or fashion, protecting, training, whatever it is. And to have somebody who's in victim services and not take care of their own staff the way they should, that was a gut punch. And I was like, well, because that's like, wow, what do they really think about me? At first, they want to take away my job, which I think I'm doing good at, and I'm helping people, and then not tell me about it. So I get all upset. I'm ready to screw this agency, and because I still got a family to raise. I got, our youngest off at college that we are helping pay for, which is not cheap. My lovely wife's working, and at the time she was working full-time job at a nonprofit. She's a mental health professional, and working part-time until she could start her own practice. And I was like, well, screw this. I need to get another job. I need to find something. I'll do whatever. I'm not getting any hits. So things are bad, and I start going down this downward spiral because I felt I was, severely disrespected, and that gut punch. And then I can't find a job. Time's coming up. I'm not gonna have a job on October 1st. And my lovely wife was like, "It's okay. I got you. I'm working part-time. We're good. If you don't have a job October 1st, we're good." I said, "Okay, good." And I just sat back and I said, I said, I've been in worse situations than this. And I said, I got to figure something out. So my last 5 years in the Army, I was a trainer, so we were training troops to go all over the world. And I ended up at the National Training Center. And what we did after every training exercise was we conducted an AAR, after action review, to talk about what went well, what didn't go so well, and how can we improve. I said, well, I got to use what I know. So I added another R. So it's AARR, or AAR squared, AAR, if you want to sound like Steve the Pirate. So instead of after action review, I made it accept, acknowledge, respond appropriately versus reacting negatively, and reaching out when necessary. So I had to accept the fact that certain people in my agency didn't want me to have that job anymore. I had to acknowledge that that's not the only job I can do, and that there's other jobs out there, not only within the agency, but outside the agency. I just got to buckle down. And I did respond appropriately by not being angry, not taking it out on my lovely wife, not reverting back to those high-risk behaviors or drinking. And I had to reach out. And reaching out, I had to reach out to friends. I had to reach out to family. I had to reach out to people in the agency that I trusted and say, look, you guys screwed me, but I think I'm still good working with this agency. What can you do for me? And it turns out after I found this job, the volunteer coordinator job, my boss is a retired Air Force guy. He's a chaplain. And so they gave me this position. So then I started thinking about it. One of the first things I AAR'd was my dad's death. I had to accept the fact that my dad died. There was nothing I could do about it. He got, he was struck down with a horrible disease, and it took his life. I had to acknowledge the fact that he had a profound impact on me in those 18 years that I did have him. And I think that's what is helping me in my journey and with my resilience. I had to respond appropriately. And by responding appropriately is when I started sharing my story, about losing my dad early on, and then my trajectory throughout my career and some of those life, stressors and traumas that took place. And then I had to reach out if necessary. And that's reaching out to, again, family, friends, and people that would help me, so that's the little method I came up with, the AAR, accept, acknowledge, respond appropriately versus react negatively, and reach out when necessary. And it's going to be necessary.
Oh, for sure. If nothing that I have not learned in my 45 years is definitely surround yourself with the people that are going to help lift you back up. Because we are going to go through those downtimes. We are going to go through all that in life. That's guaranteed. But surrounding yourself with people that will help you lift you up and not let you stay stuck in your shit, and to, lift you up and get to a higher level for sure, is definitely what it's all about. And I just have to say, okay, so I've heard your story on the storytelling with Sarah. I forget Sarah's last name. And
yes, Sarah Corral and the Power of Our Story.
Right. Thank you. And our pre-interview and things like that. And you always refer to your wife as my lovely wife. I have to say, after 20 some odd years of marriage, that's amazing. That's amazing.
She is. And it's funny because on the Power of Our Story, that's one of the things Sarah noticed as well. And it's because that's what she is. And it's not just a term of endearment. It's that's what she is to me. She is my lovely wife. She's my rock, she's my foundation. That's, even though I did horrible things during our marriage, she's woman enough to still accept me for me, and we're moving forward, and she's great.
Oh, and that's what marriage is all about, right? It's right. All about forgiveness and moving on and accepting the people, and as long as they can move forward and not hold it over someone's head, because I've seen that circumstances before. That's not what you need, but in any circumstance. But I totally love that. And we are at the time of the show where we're going to bring the fundamentals in.
All
So
right.
let me just bring into the show the amazing Kimberly, and I will have Kimberly take over this section.
So first of all, Daniel, it couldn't be more appropriate. And one of the things that we've really humbled ourselves to on this show is that this is not our show. This is the Holy Spirit's show. So I just really personally want to thank you that you were the one that God chose to be on this show on whether it's Canadian Memorial Day today, hello everyone, or American Memorial Day. We don't know which show this is going to be. But the point being that, Daniel, you so personally walked me through memories that I have personally experienced. And the grace that you penetrated through all those moments are profound. And I thank you. I thank you on behalf of myself personally, and I can pretty much guarantee anyone who's being touched by this show, whether it's when we air or after, you are a living, breathing example of what's possible as a human being, being unconditional love. And I'm very clear on that.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Yeah. My honor and my privilege to get to acknowledge you, right? Inside the conversation that you've created for the world on our show. And we can't thank you enough for that.
Well, thank you I'm proud to be here.
Yeah. So with that, I'm going to very gently segue into the fundamentals because this show has been very, very powerfully soft and gentle. So I'm literally holding on to Molly. For those of you
I see that.
And containing my enthusiasm that I usually bring for the fundamentals, in full honor of you, and that this is a Memorial Day show. Okay. And so with that, though, I am going to segue to introduce Miss Molly, who couldn't be a more perfect person, as always, Dorothy, right? That the Holy Spirit brought to the show on this particular day. Because, Daniel, your acronym, okay? So ARR.
That's
okay.
right.
So I met Miss Molly on a sailboat tour that is done in the Key West by two phenomenal captains that donate that to military veterans only, exclusively, dealing with PTSD and or suicide.
Right.
So on that note, I introduced Miss Molly. And Molly, what would you like to share with the world?
First of all,
Right.
when you
Steve the Pirate, man.
it could not have been any more perfect because our theme song for our trip was I Am a Pirate, and it was all lady pirates, and so it's great connection there. So yeah, just really happy to be here and excited to be with my friend Kimberly. It's always fantastic to be in her presence. So
and where we are, for all of you out there, we are in Tampa, Florida tonight. And Molly, who do you want to promote on the fundamentals tonight?
yeah, so the person who I would love to promote right now is Dr. Janelle Royster. She has a nonprofit called Semper Modus LLC. Dr. Royster, Janelle is a personal friend of mine, but she also has walked me through her protocol, which helps veterans, first responders, literally anyone who has suffered from PTSD and trauma, whether it be like military sexual trauma or first responders dealing with, cases that they've worked on that they just haven't really been able to get past. And so she walks them through a protocol that's very, very simple, does not ask the person to go through the trauma or even talk about any of the facts of the trauma. It's pretty profound. She bookends before and after the trauma and helps them basically free up the amygdala, which houses all of that emotion. And once the amygdala is free of that logjam, the people, even if the trigger happens, they don't experience that like debilitating response. That emotion is no longer connected with it. So she not only walks people through that protocol to get past their PTSD, through their trauma, but she also teaches it. And she has been, I can personally say that she has helped me in several different ways. That's helped me get past certain issues in my life that were kind of blocked up and stuck. And as soon as she walked me through it, literally the next day, I was good to go. It's like having a whole new lease on life. She's taught me how to do the protocol. And one lady that I worked with had been holding on to a trauma for 40 years. And when she finally, after 3 sessions, kind of was released from that, even her husband, when he hugged her, said that she felt different. She said that it was like losing a suit of armor. So Dr. Janelle Royster is a hero in my book. Definitely somebody that needs to be commended and definitely supported, because she is doing amazing work. Over 1,000 people she's helped already. So
Wow.
Dr.
Janelle Royster.
Yeah, so we'll get that. We'll get her information out to everyone, all of you, and so that is who we are spotlighting inside the fundamentals tonight. Molly chose Janelle, which is awesome. Dr. J.
Dr. J.
Dr.
Okay.
J.
And with that, Daniel, what are your 3 fundamentals?
Yes. So I believe my 3 fundamentals are love, respect, and humility. And when I say love, I say self-love and love of others. Because I think it all begins with ourselves. I didn't learn that enough early on, or if I learned it, I suppressed it. Respect, same. Respect for yourself and respect for others. And that means, treating others as people and as our fellow human beings, regardless of anything. And for some of us it's difficult, but I think, that has helped me. And that's from an example from my dad in those 18 years. He just treated everyone the same, with respect and as a fellow person. And then humility, I just think, like I said, I think I've been in the service to others my entire adult life. And I think identifying and recognizing that, what we're doing is for the greater good, and that we don't do things seeking award, reward, or praise.
Yeah.
Although it's nice at times, but we don't do it for that reason.
Right.
So those
Beautiful.
are my 3 fundamentals.
There you go. Your fundamentals are the core, the backstone of what it is to be unconditional love. Beautiful. I'm so glad that you left the world with the easiest way to access those. Thank you. All right, Miss Molly, what are your 3 fundamentals?
So my 3 fundamentals are family, life-work balance, and purpose. And when I say family, I not only talk about my immediate family because they are so important to me and they refresh me, but also the family that I choose in my best friends. My best friends have become my family. Being military, you are taken all over the world, and the people that you are around really do become your family. And so I include those in that. The work-life balance, more life than work, because what's the purpose of work other than to live, and why only live to work? And then also purpose, because when you find your purpose, nothing seems like work. It's enjoyable, it's motivating, it's fulfilling. And so those are my 3 fundamentals.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah, I like how you said life work, because when you Google life work balance, everything that comes up is work life balance. And I actually include that in so when I share my story as a webinar or a conference presentation, I include life work balance, because I say the way I look at it is, we had life before we had work, and life comes before work in the dictionary. So it should be life work.
Amen. Well said, Daniel.
Absolutely.
Well said.
I like it.
Yeah,
So we're there.
yeah. We've actually been listening to you, Daniel, as Daniel in the Bible in the Lion's Den, calm no matter what. Calm no matter what. Yeah, really beautiful. Really beautiful. And thank you, Molly. Those are also profound. And one of the things I'm really loving about the fundamentals is it really speaks to who people are at their core. And it really makes sense. Like they project out exactly what their fundamentals are. So we love you all. And we celebrate this Memorial Day with you. Please be in memory of those that make you who you are.
The good and the bad.
That's right. All of it.
Yep.
It's all good. Like the bad
Absolutely.
actually gives us the greatness.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Dorothy, back to you.
Awesome. You had asked somebody else to be in the green room too?
I didn't. But
No?
hey, I don't know what the Holy Spirit's up to. Is there someone in the green room?
Well, I don't know. I got a message that you wanted Vicky in the green room.
No. And we
No?
can bring her in. Hey, it's Memorial Day. It's magical Memorial Day.
All right. Here's Miss Vicky Parker.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to the show. Hi.
See, we're hey, all of you out there, we do not control this show. The Holy Spirit controls this show.
Who's in charge of this thing?
Oh, great.
What kind of outfit you running here?
Yesterday, the Holy Spirit gave me the message from your lips to be here today.
I was going to say, because I didn't say that.
Well, all right. Well, here I am.
So,
And,
Vicky, from nothing, what are your 3 fundamentals? And realize that this is a pre-tape show for Memorial Day. So what would you like the world to hear on Memorial Day that your 3 fundamentals are?
My 3 fundamentals are to leave each and every person whom I meet, see, come in communication or contact with, having the experience of being seen, heard, and known. And when I say known, respected for who they are and for where they have come from and all that they've accomplished in their life in the way in which they did it or didn't do it. Those are my fundamentals.
Love it.
Beautiful. And for those of you who don't already know who the infamous Vicky Parker is in the world of unstoppable overcomers, is Vicky is an author in a book called Overcoming Mediocrity by Being, hello, unstoppable. So for those of you out there that cannot find your access to being unstoppable, we invite you to purchase her book, which can be purchased on omfearless.com. Back to you, Dorothy.
Awesome. So I just want to thank all of y'all for showing up. I sound like a Yankee, don't I already? All y'all.
Come back
Yeah.
soon.
Half Hick, half Yankee, half Texan. I don't know. Whatever. Hopefully one day to be a resident of Florida.
I'm sorry.
Awesome.
Hopefully, you've already committed.
Nope.
More to come, audience.
More to come.
Wow.
More to come. Yes. So with that, I just want to thank everybody that's watching. Thank you for your service. Everybody, definitely Daniel and Molly for sure on the show, but we celebrate Memorial Day for a reason, and that is to honor our veterans and our active service members. So my hat's off to all of you, and thank you for your service. And we wish you nothing but love, peace, joy, and all the best. And please reach out to us if you definitely need help. We have teamed up with so many veterans over the last month and a half. It's been incredible, and we want to help go from 22 to 0. And for those of you that don't know what 22 to 0 is, 22 veterans a day commit suicide, and we want to bring that number down to 0. So with proper training.
Dorothy, stop.
Yep.
we want to. We
No,
will.
we are.
We did.
will.
We did.
We
It's
did
already
bring it.
done.
That's right.
God says it's already done.
That's right. It's already done.
Thank you.
So yeah, that's what we're committed to. We're committed for 22-0, and we're here for you. So please reach out, and we'll help you in any way possible. And with that, continue to be unstoppable in all that you do, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thanks.